Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on the topic of online database protection. First, I'll go through a quick agenda regarding today's topic. I'll explain what an online database is and give some examples, talk about why databases are important, how they are protected, how they're vulnerable, and end with some questions to get your mind thinking about your own online data security. So, what exactly is an online database? In the simplest of terms, an online database is a data structure that stores organized information that can be accessed online. Most databases consist of tables filled with several different fields that contain relevant information and relationships. Databases are dynamic in the sense that they can always be added, removed, sorted, or searched through, with proper authentication. Pretty simple, right? Well, contrary to popular belief, databases aren't as simple as an Excel spreadsheet or Access query. Databases consist of multiple relational tables and rely on each other and other databases for information when a user or computer is sorting, searching, or returning information through. Relationships are key in databases as that's how the value is derived. Databases come in many different sizes and forms. A list of databases you may be familiar with are the Xavier Library, JP Morgan & Chase accounts, the International Movie Database, and Zillow. The picture on your bottom left of the screen shows, in the most basic way, what a database might look like and how the relationship works. Each table feeds off each other and pulls relevant information that feeds into another table. The image on the right side of the screen here shows what an IMDb database might look like. As you can see, there are many tables, each with a multitude of fields that feed into the master table. Data Warehouse Facts, the middle table, is a table which returns the information for a selected movie, actor, or combination of both, based on relationships connected to it, such as people, reviewers, ratings, and so on. So now, one may ask, why are databases important? Well, databases are important because they give us expanded knowledge on a large magnitude of information. Databases also allow us to manipulate large sets of data as well as integrate multiple sets of data, which contributes to our human decision making. Databases also save us time and resources when looking for particular information, perhaps an individual email or an account number, and allows us to store information that may need repeated in the future. Now we're going to go into how databases are protected. Databases are protected legally under copyright law, provided under the concept of a compilation copyright. Under the compilation copyright, specifically U.S. Code Title 17, a compilation is defined as a collection and assembling of pre-existing materials of data that are selected in a way that the resulting work as a whole constitutes an original work of authorship. This definition includes, but is not limited to, a database. Although this law protects the database, the data itself is not always protected. There is no copyright protection for basic facts and ideas if stored in a database. In order to be protected, the database must be an original in its selection, coordination, and arrangement. Going back to the IMDb example, it is stated under IMDb's conditions of use that all content included on this site is made available through any IMDb service such as text, graphics, logos, button icons, images, video clips, data compilations, and software is a property of IMDb or its contents suppliers and is protected by the United States and international copyright laws. The compilation of all content included or made available through IMDb is the exclusive property of IMDb and is protected by U.S. international copyright laws. Well, that's a lot of legal mumbo-jumbo, but long story short, the data included in IMDb's database, while factual and some may say basic, it's not basic knowledge and it is originally compiled by IMDb and their software. Thus, legally, their data is protected, even though some of these are pretty basic. Continuing on. Databases are technically protected on the basics of the CIA triad. The CIA triad consists of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is the most important aspect of data security, most commonly enforced through encryption, which we will go into more depth on that later. Integrity, the second part of the CIA triad, entails which users are able to see, access, or edit the information. For example, authentication protocols such as password requirements. And to complete the triad, we have availability, which entails that the database is operational when needed and when in downtime is protected and updated. Next, we'll go in depth on some technical protection terms. Oh, this looks odd. It looks like I forgot to decrypt my slide. Let me go ahead and decrypt that real quick. That's better. Some more advanced ways to protect an online database are through encryption, backup encryption, firewalls, and proper management. Encryption is the use of algorithms to transform data stored in a database into ciphertext that cannot be understood until decrypted using a decryption key, sort of like what happened on my slide there. Here on the picture that I just put up on the screen is sort of what encryption is in a visual sense. So in my previous slide, I had what looks like the numbers in the middle there, 6EB78570. No one knows what that means. So I used my decrypt key to translate it back to what it said, hello, or how our database is protected. Now only certain users have access to that cipher key, and that is something that management would have to give authentication for. There are many types of encryption, such as transparent encryption, column level encryption, field level encryption, file encryption, symmetric encryption, and asymmetric encryption. Encryption helps defend against common attacks such as general hacks and data breaches. Backup encryption is the same process as encryption, except different keys are used in the backup system. This provides another level of security in case the backup system is compromised. A firewall monitors the database to identify and protect against database-specific attacks. Firewalls also monitor and audit all logs maintained in the database. Firewalls protect by creating a customizable security audit policies, and they can also identify database attacks on past incidents. Firewalls are commonly used, and they protect against two of the most common database attacks, SQL injections and buffer overflows, which I will describe shortly. Also, proper management is needed to have database security. The goal for proper management is to aim for the least number of people to have access, to not dish out privileges, to contain a log, enforce strong passwords, make sure encryption is used, and lock the account if strange activity or X number of logins failed. Management also needs to have a procedure for employee access and accounts to be deactivated and deleted when employees move on. Also, there needs to be recurring audits and monitoring to review the activity log and have alerts sent when accounts are created or maybe the same password is used or other fishy information. There also needs to be notifications sent directly to users, administrators, when the system needs updated or patched to prevent any types of holes or vulnerabilities in the system. Next, I'll talk about how databases are vulnerable. Remember, anything that's put on the internet or on a computer has risk of being compromised. Some common attacks that databases are prone to are social engineering, SQL injections, buffer overflows, hackers, and basic breaches. Social engineering is the use of deception to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. This can be as simple as a phishing email or giving someone your password. SQL injections are computer attacks in which SQL code or structured query language is embedded in an application and then passed to the backside of the database to gain access or make changes. It kind of acts like the part of the database's data. Buffer overflows occur when more data is sent to a fixed length memory block or a buffer than it can hold, where the data can then be manipulated with a malicious intent. The hackers and use of malware is when a person uses his or her abilities to gain unauthorized access to systems or networks in order to commit crimes. Malware is a term used to refer to a variety of forms of hostile software, including computer viruses, worms, Trojan horses, spyware, malware, and things of that nature. The goal of those is to disable the computer system and give access to the hacker, whether that's from in person in front of the computer or remotely. A data breach is something that we were familiar with from the Sony case last week, and that occurs when a cybercriminal successfully infiltrates a data source and extracts sensitive information. This can be done physically, kind of like a hacker using a computer or a network to steal files, or by bypassing network security remotely. And one interesting fact I found while doing some research was that according to Verizon's Data Breach Investigation Report, which they do yearly, they found that while point-of-sale system breaches see an average of 6% of records compromised and 19% when the application server is compromised, database breaches see an average of 75% of the organization's records compromised in an attack. It's pretty astounding how much of information that is there. And now that we've talked about how databases can be compromised, I'll give a few examples of some notable database breaches. Database breaches happen every single day in all different magnitudes, and I'll go into three of the largest and most significant. Yahoo was compromised in August of 2013. Names, emails, addresses, birth dates, telephone numbers were taken from 3 billion Yahoo accounts. At the time, that was every single account in Yahoo's database. Yahoo was breached by hackers using a bicrypt algorithm. eBay. eBay was compromised in May of 2014. Names, addresses, birthdates, and passwords were taken for 145 million users. Hackers got in via social engineering and were assisted by poor auditing and monitoring. The hackers that got in here actually had access for 229 days to eBay's internal system. It's amazing how that went bypassed. Equifax was compromised in July of 2017. This breach affected 143 million customers. This one seemed to be a little bit more serious because social security numbers, birth dates, address, driver's license numbers were taken, and for 209,000 customers, credit card information was taken. Equifax was breached by a hacker who found a vulnerability in Equifax's software that hadn't been updated. The software company was called Apache Struts, which is a very notable one, and they declined to comment on what the vulnerability was. And to conclude, I'll leave you with some questions for reflection. Do you believe that your organization's information stored in a database is safe? Does it depend on the organization? How does your organization ensure the safety of their customers' information? What about company information? And then I think my favorite question here is, should there be civil suit repercussions for organizations whose databases are breached? Since the organization can't control the hackers, but can control their security, where would you draw the line? Thank you guys for listening to my PowerPoint today, and I hope to hear some feedback on what you guys think about online database security.